Oh, that's the wrong camera. There we are. Hi. No, just Gabe, start the show.
Hello. Welcome to Star Citizen Live.
Who are you?
I'm Gabriel Hector.
And what do you do?
I'm a systems designer at the Manchester office for CIG.
And you're going to host this week's show.
Yeah, that's the plan. So, Jared, who are you and what do you do at Cloud Imperium Games?
Wow, thanks, Gabe. I'm Jared. I don't know what I'm in charge of. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live. We're by ourselves today. David, who you sometimes hear me shout out to, is feeling under the weather today. So we've set up, we've literally moved the control stuff over here. So I have to do everything for the show. So we'll see how it goes. The last time I did it like this was the Big Invictus All Vehicles Roundtable last year. And I managed to pull that off. There were more people, so it should be fine. Hi, welcome to Star Citizen Live. I'm Jared. This is the show at the end of the week where we grab a bunch of our developers and we take your questions and we put them to them and they answer your questions, and we learn all about this wonderful project we're working on, Star Citizen. Joining us on the show this week are esteemed members of the UI feature team. We've got Gabe, we've got Bone, we've got Zane, and we've got Emily. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. So, Gabe, you've already done your intro. You're not technically on the UI team, but you're a designer, system designer on the PU and Squadron teams. You help.
Yeah, and I have a lot of focus on UI features all over the place. I've got my finger in everything, and I'm annoying these guys a lot.
So, Bone, we'll start with you. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Hello, I'm David Bonegill. Everyone calls me Bone, as I may have mentioned before. I'm a technical director for the UI on Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
Okay. Zane, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Zane. I'm a UI developer, programmer, designer. I don't really know what my title is at any given time. I'm supposed to be on core tech, but I haven't touched that in a while. So I just do everything, and I've been lately working on the map system.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I are in the running for the most number of titles that we've had in the time here. It's constantly trying to figure out exactly where we fit in.
It's just my ambition to want to do everything. So.
Bone, tell us who Emily is.
Oh, blimey.
No, Emily, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Emily. I'm a UI programmer, predominantly at the moment, working on the Starmap. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Yeah, we are out of cameras. We need more cameras for more people. We're gonna try to upgrade the show here in a little bit. All right, so we took questions from the community. We put them on, or we put a thread up on Spectrum. We gathered questions. We let you guys go through and pull the questions. We're just gonna jump right into it because it's really hard for me to do all the multitasking stuff. All right, so right off the bat, first question. Yeah, this one. Yeah, will we be able to select start zoom? We will be able to select start zoom of map. Okay, if I'm in the pilot seat, I would like it to start zoomed out in the system map. But if I'm standing in my ship, I would like it zoomed in on the world map. So basically, can they set different zoom levels as default based on what situation they're in?
I think we agreed so much with this.
Yeah, I've actually been working on this week. Yeah, so now you will be able to sit in a ship and you'll open the star map and it will open to the star map, and if you are anywhere else it will open to the interior map if you have an interior map. We've also started the star map out further now, so when it will like zoom back out so you get like a view of the sort of system that you're in a little bit more rather than being like face up with a planet's texture. Another thing I've added is a keybind so that if you're in the star map, you can just press that and go straight into the interior map. We don't have the other way yet, but we have that way. So yeah, so it's hopefully going to work a lot more smoothly now, and you can be in the context you actually want to be in.
That sounds very cool. I think before we jump in here, there's going to be a lot of conversation about iterative development. There's this assumption that when a thing comes out, it's everything all at once. And anybody who's been paying attention to the development of Star Citizen over the years knows that that's not how it works. This is the next group of things, the group of features, the next functionality we can do, and then it will continue to evolve and iterate on subsequent patches. So we'll hear some variation of that answer quite a bit tonight. Question 2, do you plan to add filters on the interior maps and star maps so we can easily find specific POI?
So yeah, this is obviously something that we do want. So it's in the designs, it's in the documents, but it's not maybe the top priority right now. We need to get this stuff just working as good as possible, and then we'll just have to prioritize after that.
Obviously not an extensive list, but what kind of filters off the top of your head were we thinking about?
So it's essentially what you see as the amenities. So for anyone who's been playing the PTU, you've seen that now that when you use the star map, you can click a location and then you get a list of amenities there. So you can see, oh, I can buy ships here. So essentially we would reverse that and you could say, I want to buy a ship, where can I do that? Rather than having to go through every single place and then see, oh, I can buy a ship there. So it's gonna make it way nicer, but yeah.
I mean, the other thing for like the interior maps, like it's pretty much just showing like room labels and stuff, but like in the future, we're gonna have a lot more amenities that are pointed out on it, like icons depicting like here's where you buy weapons, here's where you retrieve your ship or whatever it is that's going to be useful. Then we'll have filters based on those categories. But that's in the future. We need to do some more kind of back end work for that.
Yeah, I imagine many of these features that are coming in 3.23 were first developed for Squadron, and then are being brought over to the PU. And the PU requires a lot of additional functionality that perhaps Squadron, doesn't. Squadron's, this big sprawling single-player game, but it is a single-player game in a massively multiplayer, persistent universe with multiple star systems and stuff. There are far more considerations that need to be taken. So yeah, this first version will go in. It'll have a lot of limited functionality, and then it will continue to evolve.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that we've added on as part of this process of bringing it over from Squadron, where it was this thing that was suited for Squadron specifically, and then it goes into Star Citizen, and it immediately needs so much more. So what started out as just move it into Star Citizen has become quite a task, but I think
I guess in that respect, it's also accelerated the robustness, like for the maps, for example. It's the fact that we need to get it in PU and working all properly with all the different systems it's also going to go back into Squadron as well. So it's not just Squadron going into PU. It's also very all the stuff that we've done is very general, and so it'll also benefit Squadron as well.
That's good. That's not a point we often. Oh, look. Wow, David, why don't we use this? Sorry, I just discovered a toy. Usually it's David at this thing. No, you make a good point. The work on these features, like I said, all the work for Squadron serves the PU, but like it did before, and like it will continue to do, this work will still funnel back up the stream, back into Squadron and stuff. So Bo Discovered Technology says, I discovered a fun thing. Look at this. Look at this. Hey, there's nothing wrong with being easily amused. Those people are generally happier than most others. Okay, we've got several questions about pins. One of the more exciting aspects that we revealed is that you can finally, set pinpoints, markers on the verse. First question is, will our map pinpoint markers that we drop be persistent if we log out and log back in the next day?
That's definitely the plan, yeah. But there's a lot of back-end work that we need to look into, and especially with server meshing coming in. So a thing that happened for the 323 work that we've been doing is that we started talking about, okay, we want to get these pins in as part of the star map now, and you should be able to place them and share them with people and all of that jazz. But then we looked into it, and well, it was quite hard to do, and we're getting server meshing, so everything's gonna change, and it just wouldn't work with, with the future.
The technical challenge is immense. It like the pin itself, like drawing a pin on the map, fine.
Yeah.
Persisting it and in this sort of super complicated structure that we have is tricky to say the least.
That's not to say we won't work on it. Just
Oh no, we're working on it. Yes, it's just it's not that straightforward.
No. Okay. So, will we be able to share the locations that we save from the star map with other players?
Yeah, for sure. That's part of the vision again. So you should be able to share so we can see in 323 you can place the markers on the area map, and in the future you should be able to place them on the star map, and those should be the same kind of thing. You have a list of all your markers that you placed, and you should be able to share them with your party and so on. But it will, as I just said, we will need to look into the tech of it and see how that actually works out.
And then last of the, oh no, that's Bone. See, playing with the toys. Will we be able to set pins in space?
I think that's kind of answered now, but yes. So star map, area map, place the pins wherever you.
Oh,
pick.
like in like an arbitrary bit of space.
Yeah.
Like just,
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't break gameplay if we allow players to just actually quantum travel there. That's something we'll also have to look into, but that would be kind of neat. Place a marker, go there,
spring a trap.
meet up.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit. Sorry, listen to the words. The words are what matter. What progress has been made on UI elements to assist with landing ships from the first-person pilot seat view? For example, have we considered holographic extensions of the landing pad or hangar door boundaries, ATC flight tunnels, landing cameras, directional proximity sensors, alerts, radar LiDAR scan, MFDs, pilot's visors? Like, we've had a couple different things over the course of our development. Where are we going?
Yes.
Look right into the camera and say yes.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate?
Oh no.
I think Emily might have some answers.
I was just stealing her thunder a little bit.
Yeah, so there are a lot of like plans and a lot of thoughts that we have. We obviously want to have like use the AR sort of space for markers. Have like, if you're going into a hangar, have like a gate bracket so that you sort of know the bounds of where you're trying to go. A like ladder sort of system, so you have like a guide to where you're trying to go. And then also we want to make use of the radar display that you have as well to actually utilize the area map tech again to display your ship and like the ground underneath you. And then obviously if you have a landing pad, it will show you your landing pad. And if you don't have a landing pad and you're just trying to land anywhere, it'll have like a line with a shadow kind of thing, and it will sort of guide you to whether you can land there, you know, whether it's flat enough, that kind of thing. So these are the sorts of things that we're thinking about doing with that.
And that'll tie into how we want to show terrain and things like that in our map system, because that's, you know, I want that to be a thing.
Are there any challenges with that presented by the server meshing and everything? I mean, obviously most times your landing stuff will just be there where you're at, but is there any, you know, like how far out can you go? Is there other concerns that, you know, you won't be able to read parts in another shard or whatever? No? You don't want to look, nope, they're like, okay.
That's the thing we always find out in the last moment.
Well, I mean, like the geometry for planets and stuff is streamable, but yeah, when you start talking about being able to see other players, you know, other locations and stuff, and whether they're exactly on your server and all this kind of stuff, that's the stuff that gets complicated.
But actually, the interesting thing to mention is when we do account for, like in our map system, when we do account for things not always being streamed in. And, you know, maybe the spaceport on the other side of the city isn't streamed in, so you can't like really see it or whatnot. And when we make that work across the board, regardless of streaming, the map should work regardless of whether things are streamed in or not. It should be totally independent of the entities that are existing. It opens us up to like look at maps of far away places anywhere that we've cataloged them. So if you're on another planet, you can see, you know, you might be able to see the map of what you've explored and not even be there.
Okay, cool.
So that's an interesting like byproduct of that, but that it opens up. But you know, two benefits in one.
So, sorry, chat has noticed. Yes, I'm playing. Let me have this. I don't usually have the control. All right, so we had 6 questions, important questions, but you know, relatively softballs, if you will. The big question here that I think most people have wanted to know, not going to sugarcoat it, what's up with the UI being so holographic it can become unreadable at some times? What's up with that? What's going on?
More. We want more.
What more
More
holographic?
holographic. Just
No.
put it all on there. Make it worse. I hope everyone saw the My Phone 900 years in the future meme. That was a good one. It was very holographic. Yes. So I think
We have a line to tread.
yeah.
So we want it to look cool, right? But we want to be able to use it at the same time. So there's a balance to be had. Like we're not going to release something that looks like a vanilla web page, you know, that's just black on white, black text on white background for all the UI.
For sure.
Obviously, there's the extreme where you've got all this chromatic aberration and bloom and fog and effects and stuff going on. And it's not particularly readable and it's difficult on the eye. So we've got to find a balance where it looks cool and it's diegetic and it's in the world and it looks futuristic, but ultimately very usable. Like you've got to be able to use it and it's not got to be bad on the eyes.
No, and I think with the Mobiglass in particular, because I think that was maybe the worst offender in this case. It's supposed to be this holographic thing, so it got a bit over the top, and we
got overexcited.
Yeah, exactly. It can look even cooler, but no, we very much appreciate the feedback, and I think everyone's very happy with the results that we've got now, and it's coming out really well.
But we're still dialing that in
for sure,
to get the tone right.
It'll be a continuous process, and there's also some graphical fixes that we've fixed recently as well. Like I think on some of the low res render to texture stuff, it's there's actually some color correction weirdness going on that the graphics seem to fix. So that's probably going to increase a little bit, like the brightness of some of the elements, because now the colors are consistent between low res and full res render to texture. And there's also some sorting issues that we need to work out into the system with regard to 3D planes and 3D objects. There's sorting issues that we've sort of fixed, but there's a proper solution we're going to do post 323. We'll be looking at.
So it sounds like some of it is technical, some of it is bugs, things not working the way that they're intended.
Yes.
And then some of it is style, some of it is pushing to find this happy medium.
Finding a balance of good art but good usability.
Because if there's a 3D plane in the world that's behind another, like the thing that's trying to render a drop shadow over or whatever, it's the thing that's over it, and when it's sorted incorrectly, you're going to null out any of the benefits of the backdrop or the drop shadow or whatever we put in. So
and some of the diegetic UIs are in the world, so they receive the same world post-process effects, so like chromatic aberration and the bloom and all these kind of things. So it's trying to combat them sometimes to make things perfectly readable, but Because we're doing a diegetic game, because these things in the world, you can't just sort of say, hey, don't apply these effects, because it would look really, really strange. It would look really out of place and like a game, rather than like a game as in like just putting stuff on it over the top of the screen after you've rendered the game world. We're not really after that kind of look. It's meant to look like it's part of the scene. So these, kiosks or even the mobiGlass are part of the game world.
I'm looking at chat here while you folks are talking. I want to stay on this topic for a little bit longer. Some of the folks in chat, and not just chat today, but I've seen YouTube comments and Spectrum comments and stuff. The common suggestion is, why don't you just start with readability and then add style later? And dial up. Well, it's this idea of start with a base and then build on top of it, instead of the sculptor approach, which start with all this and then start peeling back. There are benefits to both ways. Why do we do it the way we do it?
I think we do start with readability, but it's internally, right? That's not what the players get to see first, because we make our wireframe designs and we make it like, okay, this is what this Mobiglass app is doing and this is how we want to interact with it, and that's all fine. So let's move on to the art pass, and then it's more where can we get the coolness factor into this? And I think it's good that we're not like ashamed of that, and also that we can dial it back when we've done something wrong, when we've gone overboard. But I think we do have a strong like visual identity with all of these different sci-fi styles and different brand styles and so on. And yeah, we are doing a good job of really pushing for that, for keeping that consistent and making it feel like a coherent world where all of these things exist. And yeah, sometimes it makes for a lesser user experience, and that's obviously not great, and we want to improve that, and that's why we're super happy to get this feedback from players. But we never want to end up in a place where we just remove all the different styles and everything and just go, okay, here's the most legible font in the world, let's just put that right there in the best size, in the best place. Like, yeah, we it's always a balance.
And I think a lot of the times it actually can start out like very having like a high level of contrast. We've done a visual, like an initial visual polish pass on it, and then we'll get very focused on actually doing all the functionality and like the hollow volume changes to a window, and then we're doing all the functionality based on that, and we just haven't had a visual polish pass until the end, because we're focused on sort of the back end, the code, and the functionality, like all the really base foundational stuff, and then pretty much just near the end we're starting to finally do much more of the visual polish pass again. So
there's this thing that happens. I don't think I'm telling any story. I don't think I'm gonna say something. I don't think it's going to be any surprise to folks who followed the project for the decade and so. We worked to the last minute, and then beyond. I mean, that's kind of in the RSI CIG DNA at that point. There are lots of projects where you work on a thing and then you stop and you kind of go gold, and then it just kind of sits there for a while. There's bug fixes and stuff. Marketing gets to come in and do their stuff. We put these things out, while they're still being worked on. That's what Diegetic is. That's what PTU is. What players are playing right now. Even the live alpha is still alpha. It's still an unfinished a product. And I think a lot of times, just because I've seen the reactions, sometimes it's a lot of times this thing goes out and it's like, couldn't we have just another week or two to dial that in before it goes out and stuff? Does that drive you crazy? Is that just part of who we are and stuff like this? We're going off the reservation here a little bit, but talk to me about this. This is a very real phenomenon. It affects everything. Talk to me about how you deal with this.
No, it's for me. I guess it's quite exhilarating in a way, but I always wish there's just one more week. Just let me play around a little bit more with the materials. Let me maybe put some animation in, and make it a little more polished, or more feedback. Like right now, I need to put in the routing feedback. So when you press R, right now it silently fails, and you're like, why isn't it doing anything? So if you have that, then it's just a little bit, like a small bit that makes it feel a bit more polished. Better. Yeah, it's 1% more.
And then when you fix
better.
that, there's another thing you think, oh,
exactly.
it'd be cool if we put this in as well.
Issue, right?
Yeah.
It never ends.
There's another thing.
You can always keep improving, and that's just the process of design, right? So if we kept adding this one more week all the time, we would just be
Nothing would ever release.
driven insane, and nothing would ever release. So.
Jared?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. Battery change. I don't know why.
Whose battery?
Yours.
Oh, my battery's out?
Yeah, so we do.
Oh. Hold on, everybody. I see the thing, so they're hearing me through somebody else.
Just.
That's Pete. Say hi to Pete. Oh, here. Hi, Pete.
Sure. Hello.
That one.
Cheers, mate. Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh wait, I have a scene for this. Hold on. Oh, who is that? Who is that? Liam Donnelly says, "Good riddance." Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Liam
wow.
Donnelly. I'm back. Sorry. All right. So let's stay on this topic of readability. Obviously, the hologram stuff we just got done talking about. One of the forever discussion points is color stuff, colorblind stuff. Just everybody in chat type drop shadow all at one time right now. Press F for drop shadow. One to drop shadow, just fix everything. Talk to me about readability. What are we doing? What's going on here?
Oh my God. Readability. Yeah, it's not as straightforward to solve as we thought it would be. We have a constant battle with this, partly to do with exposure compensation. When something's super bright, your eye adapts to that brightness and changes the brightness levels of the scene. Obviously, there's the problems of drawing some coloured text onto a black background, i.e. a starry night, and then all of a sudden you're on a snowy backdrop. How do you compensate for that? We've still got a few more irons in the fire, especially on vehicle HUDs, about what we're going to do to solve this and not just drop shadow. I think what we've got on the lens now, on the AR stuff, is really going in the right direction. It's still needs tweaking, but we're pretty happy with that. But we've still got issues with like the head-up display that are on vehicles, and the exposure compensation on MFDs. We still need to look into, but yeah, it's weirdly tricky. The more diegetic you are, the more you sort of buy into the idea that these things are in world and you're not cheating and you're not just drawing over the top of the screen with some flat UI like you do for I used to work on driving games years and years ago, and you draw the world and you draw the car and then you draw like a HUD flat over the top, and that would be like crystal clear and you could see your lap time and stuff. Whereas this is entirely different, and the fact as soon as you put stuff in the world, obviously it's like it can be at angles and the sun can shine on it, or a big shadow goes across it, and even your mobile phone has a lot of exposure compensation to compensate not your eyes have exposure compensation, but phones have exposure compensation. So if you bring it out in direct sunlight, it's super bright, and if you get it out like under the covers in bed, it's all dark and stuff. I don't know why you'd be getting out your phone under covers in bed, but maybe that's just me. Might swerve away from this conversation.
But in the future, things, we do want settings for color blindness, and we do want settings for being able to set font sizes and so on. But that's still...
Accessibility is a completely offshoot of this, where, I mean, I think, is it 1 in 12 males have some form of color blindness, and some of the colors we've chosen that don't really work with people that suffer from certain types of color blindness problems.
No, and again, we have all of the different manufacturers and so on, different styles for every ship. So it's like, oh yeah, this ship works great, and then another one you didn't at all understand that you were dying or whatever.
Well, I blame the manufacturer.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, yes, we're going to put the settings in that will combat that problem. But also accessibility options for changing the font sizes. This obviously has an impact on the sort of graphic design look that we initially have, but essentially it will become usable for people that have issues reading the font sizes or the particular colours that maybe that manufacturer uses. So yes, and yes again for options to help with people with colour blindness or for font size accessibility options as well.
And in addition to that, like as we start really converting all of the legacy UI into building blocks, our new tech, it's all fully data driven now. So we can just, that makes it much easier to just like transform values where we need to like inject a scaler if you want to have bigger fonts or lower size fonts, and also colors. It's all data driven, so it makes that much easier.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
it's not static anymore.
I feel like we've been talking about building blocks since 2018. Maybe we have to stop calling it our new. Just looking at the chat.
What's good about it is we're not talking about building blocks 2. We are happy where we're at with this, right?
Yeah. Building blocks itself has grown. Is basically what you're saying. Yeah. Building blocks continues to evolve. You continue to add new functionality.
We need to like optimize it greatly. There's still a lot of optimization work that we need to do.
That's kind of down to weirdly, it's like a victim of its own success. This happens a lot with our game where we go, We've optimized like entities, like someone puts 1,000 entities in, and it's running slow. Okay, well we've made it run twice as quick or whatever. Oh, that's great. We've now put 3,000 entities in, and then within a couple of years, right? It's now 300,000 entities in because it's a battle. Well, battle's a bit negative, but it's a virtuous circle. Like we speed things up, you can do more stuff. We speed things up, you can do more stuff. And it's the same with the UI. So we speed building blocks up. We started off with tens of nodes, and now we talk about hundreds of nodes, and we're looking to do thousands of nodes in like a millisecond. So there's lots of optimizations, but doing the optimizations just means we can do more and more cool stuff, and like lots of little widgets and stuff, and all moving and animating and stuff like that.
A virtuous circle. I like that, a virtuous circle.
I've been a bit more positive.
Made Pete laugh. Citizen Scott says, forget readability, I just hate blue. That's what Citizen Scott says. All right. So it sounds like, I'm not going to sit here and try to sum all of that up, but it sounds like the biggest factor of many factors is the fact that our UI isn't just drawn on top of the game like it is in so many other games. Mm-hmm. It is a fully diegetic in-universe component, because that's what we've chosen to do. We've chosen to do that so that all the environmental effects and everything, the things that seem like a bug are actually a feature in some ways. We still need to account for that stuff and still need to dial that in.
So like if you I can't remember the effect, but like there's a desaturation effect, right, where everything sort of goes black and white and everything goes a bit hazy. Like the UI goes black and white with it, like because it's in world. So, right, so at that point it loses its colour. So it's the same thing. Or there's things where you get this extreme post-process effect. I think it's like when you're too thirsty, whatever the word is for too thirsty.
Dehydrated.
Dehydrated, thank you, yes. Like we get this like really chromatic aberration, and it affects the UI because it's in the world, like you're trying to read your phone and you really need a drink.
Yeah, and as you've seen in for the shopping, now we moved the UI to be in world as well, and that just made it for such a big challenge to implement. It is a tough thing to do. I think that's the bottom line, but we are adamant about this is our way, this is how we do the things, and it should feel real, it should feel tangible, and yeah, I think that's the bottom line.
Revan Z says, show us some teasers. That's the other show. So the other show, we just did a whole thing about all this stuff we're talking about. It was on the other show. Watch the other show. Mobiglass. What other Mobiglass apps can we look forward to? Any hints of integration with something like Spectrum?
So for the Mobiglass, if you've seen the new one anyway, there's some apps that we obviously didn't update. So for the future, we will have that. The comms app will be replaced by something helping you do your org stuff instead, maybe. So that will be playing into a lot of social things, and we'll be updating. Knickknacks will also get, well, it will essentially be replaced by a new app coming sometime in the future, but it's going to be a better user experience to keep track of all of your things. Oh, Jared is going to beat me up now.
You said org stuff. What org stuff?
So all the secrets.
What org stuff, Gabriel?
Nothing. I didn't say anything.
That's all we want, man. It's been so long. It was like CitizenCon 2013 when we introduced org stuff. It's still not in game.
Well, you heard it here first.
What did I hear? Tell us what we heard.
Orgs. You're gonna have a dedicated app to do all your org communications, and well, there's a lot of things that we have grand plans for, but yeah, I don't want to say more than that at this point.
This isn't the place we're gonna share them, but yes, folks, you've been patient. I know. Just a little while longer. I'm not even gonna say a little while longer. Just some point, some indeterminate amount of time longer. All right. Is there a plan to avoid HUD clutter, such as when all the markers end up overlapping each other and stuff like that?
Yeah. So we are currently looking into a design for how we want to solve this. So there's a lot of different issues at once, and I think the short answer is just yes, there's a plan. We still have things to figure out, so it's in the future. But we are for sure getting it, and you can already see that we have improved the quantum stuff for 323. Way less quantum markers. You don't get this massive circle of just 100 markers everywhere you look. So that's a start. So we're doing things, but it will get better.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask, what caused that, and why did it take so long to resolve? Like we've had the screen surrounded by quantum markers for what seems like at least half of our playable game time here. Well, what took so long, and what caused it, and how do we fix it?
I think I might have caused it.
Sounds about right.
I might have dropped myself in it, but yeah, we talked about how show other points of interest. We show other points of interest. It turns out there's a lot of interesting points in the universe. Yeah, it was about filtering, right? So filtering what you want was really tricky. So it just didn't happen for a long time. So because you can't filter by distance, because you obviously want to go to places far away. So yeah, it was an extremely tricky problem to solve again, and it's taken this long to actually get to a usable solution. Like when we talk about the markers, like we've had long discussions about, well, let's merge markers together when they start overlapping. Right? So, well, do you have enough information? You know, if you merge one of your friends with a planet, like, do you get the information about that kind of stuff? Like, yes, it's not. You don't have the information when you just get a blob of overlapping text. That's no good, right? So how do you know, do you make them avoid each other, or do you make them like, hey, your friend's here, and also there's a planet here? How do you describe that as a bit of UI? It's all deeply tricky problems to solve in a sort of systemic way. Everything needs to be systemic. We can't just say, oh, right, here's just a rule set, because the rule set is endlessly complicated, because we have an endlessly complicated game.
Yeah, no, you hit it right there. That's actually you've said the thing I didn't know what I was waiting to hear, but you said it. The systemic solutions are what take so long. Like, it would be easy enough to go in there and stick a proverbial patch on something and just stop it temporarily. But everybody knows the most permanent solution the most permanent thing in any video game is a temporary solution, and it would end up just blocking and breaking a bunch of things down the line. It's, we always look for these broader systemic solutions that can keep solving these problems as we add new things.
And when we don't, we always get tripped up. Like, if we sort of cheat, like saying, oh, well, let's just, and come up with some budgie rule, right? We always get tripped up by it because something else comes along. And again, when I've worked on more traditional video games, let's say driving games, like you would only like draw away. If you were going to draw the world, you only have to draw enough of the world away from the track. Whereas in Star Citizen, you can go anywhere, and all these things interact with each other in a systemic way. You have to find a solution that works correctly all the time. And yeah, we've really made a challenge for ourselves to do that.
Yeah, but we are working on it.
Love it though.
I think if you ask the same question about other things, why it's been there and taking so long, and it's been there for years, it's because it's an old system. We don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. It's a waste of time.
Flash!
Because we have this new system that we're working on, and all the focus ideally should be directed towards that. We're in the middle of development.
And for this question specifically, like, the marker system has now been reworked. We have a new marker system, so it's no longer in Flash. We can actually start looking into this. We now know exactly how things are done, and we have we have our best men at it.
The bearded blink in chat says, search bars and scrollable chat. Anything, search bars and scrollable chat?
Scrollable chat, for sure. That's the thing. That's in 323, as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but yeah. And search bars in general, we're for most new designs, we're looking at adding search functionality. Emily, I don't know, you did some stuff for the Starmap.
Yeah, the Starmap has search, obviously.
Cool.
I mean, I know the chat was we basically just reskinned the chat, but I think the long-term plan is to overhaul that system.
The chat has some changes. I think there's some changes to the chat. I worked on like a very early version of it to have like different tabs. I assume that.
Yeah. The new chat is very nice to use. I think people are going to be very happy with that, but it will also be improved down the line.
The content of the chat notwithstanding.
Yeah, exactly. That's up to you people.
ArcVR says, FPS Compass needs help. Let's talk to about our next question. The new latitude, longitude, altitude readout in the map is amazing. Although altitude is given as a distance from the center of the planet, and latitudes are inverted from the North Pole at the bottom, the compass is pointing towards a point at the equator, not to any of the poles. Is this an intentional choice to confuse us, or is the North Pole merely on a temporary summer vacation?
Sounds like our job is done there, right? Or, no?
I think even the question explains some complexities.
Yeah. So we do have a new design for this stuff, and it's been simmering in the background, but it's not been the top priority thing when we're looking at bringing all these new cool features. Like obviously we now do have the compass strip on the HUD and everything, but there's still tuning to do, and yes, all of those things are the goal. That's the end goal. Like we have decisions have been made on how this should be implemented, but they have not been.
We're not just supposed to have a beautiful mind to figure this thing out.
Well, so far, but
okay.
Not forever.
Okay. Why does the circular quick interact menu, I think that's PIPIS, why does the circular quick interact menu look so different to all the other UI elements?
We didn't have time. I think that's the bottom line.
Isn't this because it's not effectively in world, right?
Well, I also think it's that we didn't have time.
It's in your head.
Yeah.
Not your head.
It is in your head, but it didn't. We do have a new restyle version of it.
Yeah.
So I think my suspicion is that since we do have the style mock-up, hopefully we'll get that style in game. It should fit with the other UI. That's.
But you do make a good point. It is, we just got done talking about all of these diegetic in-universe elements, but the personal interaction system is not. That is actually a visualization, a sci-fi visualization of a choice matrix in your head. So like I suppose it should look different.
Yeah,
but
makes sense. Maybe it doesn't have a brand at least. My mind is branded by ages.
Oh, now I'm thinking. Now I'm thinking. All right. Are there plans to make the UI UX of the cockpit view be as good as the external Starship view?
So, this is someone being a bit funny, I think. The external Starship view has no UI at all.
I was going to say.
It's very... that's it. But I don't think there's a plan to do that. We won't go that far, but we are working on the HUD experience for ships for sure. That's a big one, and it's gonna be cleaner, and we're gonna add more options for people to turn off things that they don't want to bother them when they're flying around. Also, just looking at the new flight mode that we're getting in 3.23, it's a very clean experience. It's very nice to just fly around in flight mode and enjoy that. So that's not quantum, because then you get the markers still, less markers than before, but then you can go into flight and just do the thing. It's clean, it's nice.
I'm glad you figured it out. I was sitting there, I'm like, there is no UI in the thing. What is he talking about? and Gabriel's like, he's trolling. Or she, I don't know.
So I was thinking the other way around, which is, can you see the UI from outside the ships? Which we're also... No, we are.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not diegetic.
No, as in you can see through the cockpit and see, if someone's flying a ship and you're like EVAing behind them, you can see their UI, right?
Oh,
like
that thing.
Yeah.
Like,
because that's like being on the bridge of a ship, right? You can walk around and see what people are doing on their various consoles and stuff. So you could EVA and like
take a sneak peek,
check out what you're doing.
Yeah,
like,
what you're doing there on your Mobiglass.
Yeah.
I see you writing those messages on your Mobi.
Okay, we got time for a few more questions. Will planets in the star map be an actual render from the real ones, as in zoom in on any location and be able to some degree, see the terrain as it is on the real planet?
Yes, this is something that I really want to do. And it's basically yeah, I mean, we should have like a planet view. You know, I think I would, and it's basically like almost like Google Earth. You can scroll in and see any portion of the terrain, and but you might not see all of the like things that you've discovered, right? Like off the bat, you can see the base terrain, but like as you find things, derelicts and caves and mining resources and things like that, then they'll start showing up kind of along with that and integrated into that map. And it's also probably also going to tie into the landing stuff as well. So you want to be able to see terrain as well. So we got to make that work with the map system.
Okay. The current animation for opening the Mobiglass is rather slow. I was trying to think of the whole thing. Now that we have great things like interior maps, is there a potential to quickly check Mobi where you are instead of having to wait for your character to raise their arm, push the button, have it pop up, and such? Has there been any thought or consideration about speeding that process up? We've got the new Mobiglass, but I think, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, that animation has been there for...
Yeah, it's a really old animation. We've updated the UI, but we need to also update the animation at some point. It's probably something that we're going to be in discussion with the technical animators about, like how exactly that should work. We probably want like a minimum time spec. So like, make it look good as long as it's under X seconds. So it should be pretty quick. But we just need to update that because it's just basically like this. Right, so it's got to feel more organic. Our whole thing is like you just got to make it feel diegetic in the world and grounded in the world, and you might as well just put it in 2D at that point. Yeah. So that animation needs to be updated, but it's going to require some work from the coordination with the some other teams to do that.
Yeah, it's very, yes. Papa Zuzu in chat says it's very Pip-Boy like. But we have phones today that have gesture controls and stuff like the question. I think the first question there it is when you pull it up, would you actually have to hit a button or can it tell like, hey, I'm doing this? I'm not a shield maiden. I'm trying to get my Mobiglass. So could it just pop up? With that, does it need to have the push? Those questions that are probably to be discussed and stuff. Yeah,
I don't think facial recognition that's not going to exist in 900 years in the future. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, there's probably room to speed that up. But we're not making promises that we're going to speed up. He's saying we're going to look into it, and it probably it's due for some review. All right, I don't know why I switched back to you. Here we switch back to me. Why does pathfinding not work between several rooms or even several planets?
This is actually one of the things that I fixed recently. You couldn't route between zones. I had it working initially, but it turned out that it didn't work on a server environment because, again, things aren't streamed in and those entities that I need, those transit entities, don't necessarily exist. So we do have a temporary solution for that, so it should work so long as those zones that you need to route between are streamed in. But there's a longer term plan to make that work totally regardless and much more reliably. I think they're doing a transit refactor. Yeah. So there's some dependencies as well on some systems as well. So the routing in the last couple of months has gotten a lot more robust, so it's a lot more reliable, but there's still quite a ways to go. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm kind of starting to depend on some other systems, and I got to wait until they're further along, and then that's going to benefit the map because it uses AI, and then if that doesn't find a path, then it's got to use transit. So those are two different sort of systems that are being developed, at least for the interior map. don't know if you can comment on the Starmap routing. But
Yeah, I mean, the Starmap routing, I know we want to like refactor that as well, because there are some issues at the moment, obviously, like because you set a route and then you go there and it's moved since then, so it blocks things, and that gets really frustrating. So we obviously need to look into ways to handle that in the future so that whenever you go anywhere, your route always exists and you can always do it and you don't have to like reset it and all of this. So yeah, there's a lot of work still to be done on that.
But when it comes specifically to this, it's also a bit of design, right? It's a decision was made that you can route from your ship because it's the hardware in the ship doing the routing. But from seeing feedback, like discussions have been started, like it's starting to. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future with this one. Might be something that we want to implement where people can do it from the surfaces of planets and so on.
I think like the main reason it's in the ship at the moment is because the system is tied to like checking whether you have enough fuel, right? And if you don't have that ship available, it doesn't know whether you have that fuel. So we need to like account for that and consider that if we're going to allow you to do that from just standing anywhere.
And for the folks in the chat that are picking up on transit refactor, it's not anything super sexy or amazing. Just consider that when server meshing and you have to be able to divide all these areas into different servers, and that includes sometimes landing zones if you guys all decide to go to one and stuff, and the trains need to work across servers. It's just some code stuff. They glom onto everything. I'm gonna say that transit refactor. It's like just some underlying tech stuff.
Just code stuff.
Yep. Will there be a means of locating our ships further out than just 20 kilometers away from us? Either the current ship that we have or former ships, lost ships, wrecks, ships we had to abandon. This easier way to find our litter, I suppose, what they're asking.
Yeah, so what happens now is really that the ship will stream out when you don't see it, when it's behind something, maybe it's just too far away. Different situations will stream it out anyway, and then it gets harder to find. I'm not sure how the data is stored and so on, but I think that's like we could store that position that the ship had when you left it, but obviously then someone could take it and you wouldn't know because it's streamed out on your end. So the bottom line is, in the future, this is something that we would want, because with a lot of changes that we're getting in for future patches, it's going to make sense to keep track of more of these things. So yeah, but currently it's a short distance thing. But you can do it. You do have it now on the Mobi. You locate your ship. And,
we got time for just 2 more questions here. First one's about widescreen, ultra widescreen, weird aspect ratios. That's obviously, it's no secret that the Star Citizen community tend to be early adopters of a lot of different tech, VR and stuff like that. So there's a lot of folks who have super insano wide monitors that wrap around them and stuff. What can you tell them about any support, any work being done to help alleviate some of the weirdness that happens when they have these super weird monitors?
I suppose the most straightforward answer is the slider, the slider which goes from the standard 16:9 aspect ratio that you'd get on a 1 regular monitor, and then you can slide it to whatever aspect ratio you're running at. So if you've got 3 monitors, you're going to be 48:9 effectively, right? So if you've got the corner pieces like the interior map or and the thing in the top right and the health bar, you could effectively put them right to the corners of monitor 1 and monitor 3 and be like this all the time. But it's on a slider, so you can choose somewhere between 16:9 and have it like on your center monitor if you've got a 16:9 monitor, and then move it all the way out to however many monitors you have. Or if you've got like a 21:9, it's probably just going to be a small change, but it's user defined, that thing.
Yeah, and that's in already.
That's in already, yeah.
So
Okay. The last question I want to add is this is one of those forever questions. I'm looking at the list here, and there's at least 3 I'm looking at that are all the same thing here. Customizability. It's we talked about readability issues. We talked about accessibility issues. We talked about the one guy who just didn't like blue. What about the ability to? I don't want my mini map up there. I want my mini map over there. How. Our answer to this has changed over the years. I've been here long enough and followed the project even before that to know that our answer has changed as different regimes have come in, as different schools of thought have come in, as we've learned more about how diegetic we want to make things, which limits certain options. So I'd like to get the answer today, or today's version of this answer. And it's only today's version, keeping in mind that we are a game that is continuously evolving, continuously in development stuff, and the answer may change later on. But what's our thoughts today about the possibility of customization, being able to move these widgets wherever we want and stuff?
So before Gabrielle replies, I'll just sort of give you my opinion, which is this is sort of our first drop of. Obviously, we're going to do the vehicles as well. But we've got the first drop of the new visor and lens layouts. And what we want to do is make that as good as possible for everyone as much as possible, right? So in an ideal world, you'd want nobody to want to customize it because it's perfect. But we don't live in an ideal world. So, we're open to design decisions from there, I suppose. But ideally, we get to a position where the design's good for absolute majority of cases, and it's not like people going, I just hate this thing. I want to turn off the interior map, or I want to turn off my health bar or whatever. If the health bar is not as intrusive, or health bar, I'm just paraphrasing, but you have a thing that just comes on and just notifies you something and goes off, then maybe it's not so intrusive that you go, I must turn this thing off. If we get as much right, then you sort of reduce the need for that much customization.
Yeah.
But presumably the customization question is still open-ended.
Yeah, I guess to a degree, right? Because I fully agree. Like, we are working on this UI actively. This is always improving, and we are making it as good as we can. But bottom line is, it's always nice with customizability, and I think that would be, again, for the far-flung future, really. We need to make sure that we have all the UI at its best, and then we can start looking into, okay, now it's worth giving people the power, because we've done our best now, and let's allow them, and also let's allow ourselves to take the time to look into something like this, because it's also
which is equal on this sort of accessibility options as well. If you get it right, then hopefully a lot of the accessibility issues are not as strong, but we will have all these accessibility options for changing the text height and stuff, but it takes you away from the best version, but you might make it more usable for certain individuals.
But
sorry.
There's certain aspects like turning the minimap on or off. Like, people, you want to allow for that, because maybe you don't want to see the map all the time. You want to use the signs. You kind of want to play more of you want to let yourself discover the environment without tools. It's kind of like letting go of technology in a way, like going off in a forest or something. But having that there, at least like initially, that allows us to kind of gather a lot of the testing. Like, is it going to break on a specific machine or a setup? And so we can gather more data initially, and then we can figure out maybe like a hardcore mode for the HUD, like where you don't have certain things. It's just wipe everything away.
Yeah,
But-
turning things off is certainly something that's going to be easy.
I feel like I would
do
want to
than-
play under that mode sometimes.
It's a lot easier to turn the minimap on off than it was to write it in the first place.
Yeah.
All right, well, folks, that's it. You survived. You did another Star Citizen Live. Thank you so much for taking your time to be here at the end of the week and talk to us and answer folks' questions. Hold on, let me do one more. Hi, look at that. Look at that. I'm just playing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Or just do a little. Hi. Oh, look, I'm in 2 places. I'm just gonna leave it here because I'm just. What am I doing? Oh, I'm editing the show. I looked over there. The person who usually tells me what I'm doing, they're not there. So yeah, that's it. That's this week's show. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for watching. If you haven't, check out yesterday's ISE. It was a great look at some of the new Arena Commander features that are also coming their way in the upcoming Alpha 3.23. Next week's shows are patch dependent. Next week's shows are will be one thing or it'll be another thing, depending on if 323 goes to live or not. So keep your eye on the robertsspaceindustries.com website to learn more about that, about any announcements or whatever for that. For this week's show, thank you to, I gotta do this way, there we go. Thank you to Bone, to Gabriel, to Emily, to Zane for taking the time to be here on the show. Thank you to Pete for changing my batteries out in the middle of the show. We knew we were going to get Pete on the show at some point. Today was the day. And then, of course, thank you guys for watching us and keep coming back and keep supporting us and stuff. And I don't know, I'm button crazy now here. Watch this. Hold on. It was just, can I do Bone? Let me see if I can do Bone's head on my. There we go. No. Okay, no. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.
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 They're never going to let me do this again.